So is
We're recording something right here. Just pay no attention to us. And when y'all leave, you probably want to go that way.
We're about done. I'm writing down this meeting for you.
Oh, okay.
What were we saying?
fun stuff. If you could just introduce yourself, like name and position.
Sure, I'm Miranda Battles, and I am the assistant principal here, one of the assistant principals here at AIS.
I'm Christy Robinson, and I'm the other assistant principal here at AIS.
So we're just going to be discussing like some struggles that you might see when hiring teachers, and so like what are some current struggles that we're facing in hiring teachers?
Currently, there are not a lot of teachers to hire, is the main struggle that we're seeing. We have a very low amount of applicants, and those applicants even aren't certified in a lot of areas. So I think that's the struggle that I see the most.
Really, it's about the same. There's not a lot of applicants out there, and especially after the year that we came from, with a lot of teachers retiring. So, but it's still, even without that, over the years, that's been one of the problems.
Would you say it's difficult to hire? Like you said, you mentioned coming off the year that we've had. Would you have said like prior to last year, or the year with COVID, that how has it changed since then? Like as far as hiring goes, did we have more options prior to that year?
I feel like we did have many more options prior to the COVID year. We also have put in place different hiring structures since our new superintendent has come in. So I think that there is a very laid out process now so that we all are on the same page. And I think that helps. And, these principals can talk to these principals to see who applicants could be switched and moved. So I think that helps.
Okay. Would you say that the education field is dominated by one gender or the other?
I think that it depends on who you ask and what grade level that you are asking about. I feel like, in the lower levels you typically see female, but there are male. And then I think as you go up, you're going to see more of an equal number in the middle school, high school area, especially in the sports arena. They're going to want to be coaches and things of that sort. But
I think that's changed over the years. Early on, it was usually you would see all women, and nowadays there are a lot of men that are actually very interested in that profession, and so I've really seen over the last 5 years things start to even out some, especially in the secondary level.
That's good. Would you say that is it more difficult to hire in one particular grade or one particular subject? Like just even thinking about our school, because we're all departmentalized, so is it difficult to hire one subject over another?
I think that as you go up in the middle and high school areas, and even in our school, but our school is an elementary, so that any teacher can move to any department. But as far as math and science, I think in the middle school and high school areas, you're going to have more difficulty finding applicants that are qualified.
Secondary is definitely harder, finding qualified applicants. I know that's been a challenge for ELA, definitely a challenge for ELA. So I think a lot of that elementary seems to have, or earlier on seems to have a lot more choices, but secondary, sometimes we're lucky if we can find 3 applicants.
Because it's so specialized. Because if you're teaching biology, you have to have the 612 qualifications for that.
Right.
And then there's the pre-AP options, an AP option, so you have to be qualified for that also. So there's just a lot of different things that go into that hiring process.
Right. I understand. So the next few questions are some things that are mentioned by Malcolm Gladwell. Malcolm Gladwell is a guy, he wrote several articles for the New Yorker, and he has done several talks talking about the hiring process and that sort of thing. And he suggests that education has a mismatched problem, that it's difficult to know how a teacher is going to perform until they're actually in the classroom. So as opposed to a teacher that may be, ultra qualified, they've gone through the 4-year process and everything like that, as opposed to somebody who figured out later in life that that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to go through teaching, and so that they may have to go on the track of emergency certification and that sort of thing. So would you agree that you don't really know how a teacher is going to perform until they are actually in the thick of it, so to speak?
I think that's true for any job. I mean, you go through a 30-minute interview and you'll never really know until you see them in action.
Right.
I mean, I feel like you get a good grasp of their abilities when you talk to them for 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But how are they with kids? Did the kids respond to them? Do they have, rapport with their colleagues? You don't know that until they get into the school. So I think I probably do agree with that.
I also agree with that. Someone can have a great interview and just blow it out of the water with just their interview, and then have no classroom management, which without the classroom management, they're not able to teach the kids like they need to,
Right.
Gaining their attention. So I agree with that also.
So Gladwell also suggests that a smaller class size is not going to fix the mismatch problem because, everybody, according to him, everybody's like, well, if we just had smaller class sizes, then, we could fix all of the problems like low achievement and discipline issues. And so, but he does not think that smaller class sizes is one of those things that's going to fix the problem. But finding quality teachers, no matter who they are, like opening the hiring pool to where it didn't include just teachers who actually that's what they went to school for, like broadening the who to interview and who to hire. So would you agree that sometimes you find good teachers in unexpected people? Like it's not cut and dry, like you go to school to become a teacher and that's it, you're going to be a great teacher. Would you say that we could find quality teachers in other places?
Absolutely. I mean, teachers are everywhere. Even people who do not think they're teaching people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Corey's a great example. I mean, he was a police officer, and he wanted to teach, and he's a fantastic teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I think that absolutely you can find people, but the class sizes. I mean, I do kind of disagree with that because if you do have a smaller class size, you're going to be able to teach them to a higher quality because you spend more time with each one of them,
right.
and you build a better relationship.
Mm-hmm.
50 kids versus 20 kids, that's a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a fantastic teacher, you still don't have enough time in the day to get to 50 kids.
Right.
To make a personal relationship. So
Mm-hmm.
I really think that yes, you can find teachers that are qualified anywhere, but the class sizes do matter.
I agree with that also. Now, as far as the mismatch problem or theory, I don't know that smaller classes fix the mismatch, but does the mismatch matter as much when they can teach their kids in smaller groups? It really, most of the time you have less discipline issues. Like Ms. Battle said, you have more time to spend with them because there's a huge difference in a class with 30 plus in it versus a class with 20. I mean, there's a huge difference.
Right.
So I also feel that you can find teachers in other areas. Always no, but there are a lot of people out there that are great teachers. They can do what they need to do. And then there are some people that are trained that are not so good. I think that is just a personality and maybe what they've been exposed to
Right.
at a younger age.
Right. And sometimes have y'all noticed it that people get into the teaching profession and they only stay for a couple of years because they realize that this is just, they're not cut out for it, or it's just not what they want to do. Like, would y'all say that that's a pretty common problem now? Or, I mean, I guess it's not like it doesn't happen every year, but I've definitely noticed it, especially since the whole shutdown, that, teachers have just decided, or even just brand new teachers, they're like, no, I'm good.
I've had a couple. I mean, you see it. I mean, we try to provide them with mentors and try to make them feel comfortable with what we're asking them to do. So we're hopeful that they will enjoy their profession. But sometimes when you get into it and you just realize this is not what I thought it was going to be, then you have to do what's best for you.
I agree. I've seen it. I think I see it more in the secondary world sometimes. But there's some teachers that have come in and I think some of it is that they were such a good student. They felt like all the students were going to be like them, and they're just not.
Yeah.
Reality kicked in, and it was a lot more stressful, just a lot harder than they thought, and I think some of them just kind of lose their passion also.
Yeah.
But I do see it. I do see it some.
So kind of going back to like expanding the pool of potential candidates outside of like somebody who has an education degree, would you say that there is a risk involved in hiring someone without an education degree? I mean, I know there's risk to hiring anybody, but
risk in the form of, hiring anybody. You hire someone just based on a 30-minute conversation. You don't know what they're going to be able to do. So, I mean, risk, maybe, but not any more than if they had. You are going to have more knowledge if you have been educated. You're going to know the terminology, and you're going to know the acronyms, and you're going to know all of the things that the teachers talk about. But that doesn't make you a great teacher. I mean, that's just basic vocabulary.
Yes, application is definitely one of the main factors there, but I don't think there's a risk. You just have to make sure that your hiring process is to where you can hire the right people.
So does having a teaching degree or a state license make someone a good teacher, or does it come with experience in the classroom?
Experience in the classroom.
Definitely experience.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you don't know what you're capable of until you actually are in there and you're doing it. So, I mean, my first degree was in theater education, and, was going to teach big kids. Realized real quick, don't want to teach big kids. And so, experience definitely is something that, opens doors for anybody. So what changes would you like to see in the education world when it comes to hiring? And then, this will be our last question.
I think that changes could be made to make the process easier for people who have a degree in something else and want to get into education. I think that there could be less hoops that everyone has to jump through to be able to get a certificate. We have the emergency way and we have the ABC way, but if you could just make it a little streamlined, simpler, I think that would help.
I agree with Ms. Battles on that. Making the process easier would open things up more. So I was trying to think if there was anything else that might help there. Right now, I really think we've got to have more teacher incentives, and just making sure that we've got more people going into that field in college. So sometimes the field is not always respected when you've got someone that can get their 4-year degree, move on to a job where they're making twice as much. So sometimes it's not all around respected because of the pay, but I do feel it's a calling, really, myself. So trying to get more people to going into that through high school or college, I think will also help.
I agree. Well, thank y'all so much. I appreciate it, and way to go. We'll